critical to defeating them, and we did defeat them. Bob Chapman, we talked about this 3 weeks ago when you were on, and boy, now Beck has really shown himself. He says they don't exist. There's no FEMA camps.
Well, some of us have blinders on, conveniently so, and that's what's to be expected from the people who are on the air misleading people. You know, they give you 95% truth and then 5% of the New World Order's agenda. And there's been many, many of them through the years, and he's one of them.
But I'd say with him, it's more like 70% truth and 30% New World Order lies. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, Lou Dobbs really is a paradox because overall he's positive and really helps things. But I guess that's why
I agree with that.
I guess that's why the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center is attacking him. Stay there. We're going to come right back to you after this quick break down what's happening on the financial end. But then I want to play this Beck clip for everybody. Folks, tell your friends and family to tune in. So I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to do a little bit of debunking on him. This was some basic facts. And then we'll continue. But I want to get Bob Chapman's take on this as well. Stay with us.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
By the way, I'm just looking from out of the studio into the control room at Will, one of our sales guys, wearing what I think is the most handsome new shirt we've got. The answer to 1984 is 1776 that I have popularized. They have a whole new line of T-shirts that will strike up conversations at Infowars.com on the online video bookstore, gear store. And that's how you meet like-minded people and spread the word. Bob Chapman, I want to get into the economy, and coming up at the bottom of the hour, I am going to launch an operation that I thought about doing last night when I learned of the Glenn Beck newest betrayal. I want listeners, well, I'll tell folks about that at the bottom of the hour, and we'll get into some other important issues. But, there are no FEMA camps, just all over the news. But getting into the economy, I know for us it's old news, and so we have that weak spot or that blind spot, in my opinion, at least I do. But because now it's in literally hundreds of papers a day saying the solution is a world government, World Bank, that sets the taxes, and it was in the BBC 2 days ago again, a carbon tax starting at $750 billion a year in Europe and the U.S. alone. And they're now announcing in Canada, they've passed in several other states, the flatulence tax on farmyard animals. They've passed it in New Zealand. There was a report I saw in the big New Zealand paper that a couple hundred sheep would cost 168,000 New Zealand dollars. And they're saying, this is all our profit. We have to shut down. They're announcing they're going to turn the lights off worldwide for a new holiday to teach you that power is bad and lights are bad for the earth. And this is feudalism. So to have it all openly being announced, what we read in government documents, what you read 40-something years ago, I read decades ago, it's now there. And I think I'm trying to get everybody to kind of reset and remember that now people are ready to listen to us, and now it's out in the open, and I don't see many people even pointing this out, and that's upsetting to me. Everybody needs to be going out and going, look, it's here. They're meeting to try to finalize this next Thursday, on April 2nd, and in subsequent meetings. So your take on world government coming out in the open, how they're going to try to phase it in, first with a global currency at the monetary level, that is the banks issuing their own currency, for governments to be allowed to then issue their own currency, but it's just a denomination of that super currency, according to the London Telegraph, AP, Reuters, and literally hundreds of other reports. So again, the public won't see the global currency yet in their hand. It's just their dollar is converting to a global system.
True, and that's what they want to do. They want to use the special drawing rights, which were drawn up in 1969 by the IMF. They were used before between governments, and they were unsuccessful. And I think this trying to make these SDRs into a world currency for them is a terrible mistake, because it's going to end up in failure like previous attempts were. They're probably better off trying, if that's what they want to do. I don't know whether I should give them any ideas or not, but I think they'd been better off trying a basket of currencies, even though the basket of currencies would be fiat in nature. In other words,
but they've been trying that for 3 years. I mean, they tried to do.
Yeah, but I think, Alex, this is the way they're going to go on this. The SDRs are tradable between countries, but not individuals. And it still doesn't stop the near-term problem of sucking in dollars or, having dollars in your hand that you already have that are dropping in value. And so they've got to come up with something closer to the heart of the matter, and that's what there's going to be a big fight next week. And that's borne out by the manipulation of the stock market over the past 10 trading days, and it'll continue into next week. They wanted to get the market up as much as they could because of all the bad news that's coming.
All right, let me just back you up on that. I never played this clip. John, 3 days ago, I sent you a Times of London video clip. They're now getting with the Times and doing TV news. In the House of Commons with the governor of the Bank of England basically saying what Bob just said, that, hey, we've got to issue a totally new level of a monetary unit and not issue the currencies. He talks about how they're doing both right now, and then how the currencies, the dollars and others that are all being inflated, will just feed back in to that in a loop. So dig that out, John. But I just wanted to add that for people that actually watch Parliament and watch the European Parliament and watch C-SPAN, this is all openly being debated right now. But again, they phrase it as this is the solution of the global crisis, which they engineered. And then whether you believe it was contrived or engineered or by accident, they admit it was engineered. Bob believes it's gotten out of control, and that may be true. The point here is that they plan to be the last man standing and thus king of the hill with world government when they're done with this. But go ahead, Bob.
Well, I don't think that they're in a position to immediately replace the dollar. It'll have to be done over some period of time. It might take 6 months to a year.
Yeah, they said they're going to do it over 3 in most of the reports I've seen.
And then what they have to do is choose the currencies they want to work with. Well, the USDX index, including the dollar, is 7 major currencies. They're probably best going that way, which would include the dollar as well. But it doesn't solve the long-term problem. And maybe that's not of any interest to them because they think that what they will be able to do is to graduate this new basket, we'll call it, of currencies for the period that they need before they allow the whole thing economically and financially to collapse. And then they'll come up with the idea of having a digital currency for the entire world, and it will be supposedly based upon a gold backing, and people still are not going to accept that because they have to give up their sovereignty. And so it's just another game that they're playing, but it's going to be very acrimonious because the U.S. elitists do not want to give up the power of the dollar. I mean, they've got a license to steal, and they don't want to give that up. And they're still fighting with the European illuminists as to when there's going to be a phase-in to a world currency, like I just described, and they want to keep the dollar until then so that they can continue to reap riches. And so it's not only that's going to be debated behind and in front of the scenes at the G20 meeting next week, but also they're going to try to control all things financial through one governing body worldwide.
That was my next point. That was my next question for you. While we're all debating and they're getting us to debate, will we keep the dollar? And I get emails, people saying, why should I care if they get rid of the dollar? I'm not rich. I don't have money in the bank. I'm not a currency speculator. Folks, they've deindustrialized us. All we have left is our dollar to buy all these goods, for most of our economy. And so this will devastate us any way you slice it, moving away from the dollar. So you do need to care. This affects you like nothing else financially ever will. So I want you to comment on that, Bob. And then, of course, the big issue is regardless of what currency system they go with, they are openly, and I just played clips of the European Parliament where they admit this, setting up, quote, a global European government, Europe dominating the planet. They said the U.S. will no longer dominate things. That's openly being announced. And that they will have taxing and policing authority on every nation on Earth. So, and then the OECD and the UN states, they want an 85% tax rate across the board. So this is complete bondage. Go ahead.
Well, it's a combination, in fact, as you've just pointed out, the taxation element, the element of world currency, world financial control under one body, and it looks like they want a phase-in process, but the phase-in process cannot last too long because of the state of the world economy, which is in a form of collapse. The world is in depression. They just don't know it yet.